As you see, you understand this whole Lukashenko storyline of the last few weeks, which has been developing quite, well, let's say, fascinatingly, to put it mildly, and at the same time intriguingly, because we still don't understand, in fact, practically anything. We have three sides: Ukraine, Lukashenko, and Putin, and who among them is playing what role here is still not very clear.
No, well, why? Putin plays the role of the big boss. Lukashenko plays the role of the foreman, and Zelensky is the leader of another territory that didn't agree to give up its markets. Why? The roles are all clear. Listen, first of all, well, how do I know? To be honest, I don't want to pretend that I'm sitting on some mountain of wisdom, I understand. And I know one thing for sure, that Lukashenko was going to his son's graduation. In China, well, which is understandable, his fatherly feelings on the way he stopped at Valdai, this I can say for sure. And that these are all like things, there's too much conspiracy theory around a family drama, or on the contrary, a celebration. As for other intrigues, it's quite clear that if Lukashenko did not exactly enter the war himself, but instead once again gave the go-ahead for an attack on Kiev through his own territory, then that would have definitely made life significantly easier for Putin. Because Putin's key problem is that he's really lacking, just like the Ukrainians, actually manpower, and he needs to stretch the front, force Ukrainian units to leave Donbas. That is, to make life easier there. What needs to be done for that? Tension must be created in another place, the opposite one, which Ukraine cannot ignore, and accordingly it will pull units there. And then formally, Putin will be able to fulfill the task that will allow him, while saving face, to jump out of this war. This can be done in the Bryansk region, but there the Ukrainians are already more or less ready for it. But from Belarus it would be much more convenient to do. So accordingly, an agreement would have to be reached with Lukashenko, but Lukashenko spent all 5 years before that making sure this wouldn't happen again. And accordingly, this is a clear intrigue that they're constantly telling him to go ahead. And he's always,
That sounded very logical, very.
yes, and now further, now further. Now imagine that Zelensky is sitting in Kiev, who understands that a critical moment has arrived, and then it's like a song, considering precisely the character of the heroes. And at this critical moment, something must be done. And everyone does it, well, in accordance with their political style and character. We also know Zelensky's character. Therefore, Zelensky decides to disrupt, as it were, with a verbal provocation, this impending action. Instead of backing down, he flares them out like sails, moves forward, and says, I'm going to bomb you all now, along with your relay stations. By doing this, he sort of brings it all into the public eye, and the conversation already planned between Putin and Lukashenko takes on a different tone. And well, maybe Zelensky did achieve some of his goals with this after all. So it was clearly a kind of verbal preemptive strike. So whether he fully achieved his goal, we'll see in the next 2 to 3 months. But I think he did achieve some goal.
What role in this whole story could Xi Jinping play?
Well, first of all, a limited one. That is, it's honestly a bit naive to think that on this planet there's just one big boss somewhere who sits like, you know, actually like a ghoul, and on every single finger he has a string, and the strings all lead to other smaller ghouls, and he sort of carefully manages them like puppets. This, in fact, very much matches Putin's idea of how the Western world is structured. He thought Trump was such a ghoul and miscalculated, because the key second level problem that Putin fell into was that he didn't calculate that Europe without Trump, and even despite Trump, would be able to establish itself as an entity capable of raising money, gathering technology, and independently starting to supply Ukraine with them, which was absolutely not part of the plans of the two guys who met to talk in Anchorage. And then one guy backed out saying, well, we didn't foresee this. It's not me at all anymore. What kind of deck do you have there, Volodya? You answer them now, then you and I will talk in Anchorage again. Therefore, from my point of view, here, in principle, Putin is in a difficult position now, and from which he's trying to find a way out, some better, some worse. But for now, he still has a card in his hand.